Good afternoon. Welcome to Entrepreneurial Live Interviews with Connie Fuchsa. Today, I have the immense honor to share with you guys a story from a lady who has all different kinds of experiences. It's going to be really exciting for you guys to hear all about her different world experiences, because the thing that I love most about what we're doing with this series is the journey that people go through when they see things that need to be corrected or taken care of, or something needs to be done in our world, and they take charge and they take the reins and take care of it. And the beautiful thing about this lady that I'm going to share with you today is that she's tried some different things, and she really has jumped into some very different things that you guys are going to just fall in love with. It's very cool. So today I have the honor of introducing you to Candace McKim. Candace, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is going to be
fun. Very good. Well, the purpose of what we're doing is to share the entrepreneurial journey with you guys. And so you guys can see when people go through life and they find something that needs to be taken care of, something that needs to be adjusted, something that needs something to be refined, they take hold and they take charge of it. And Candace is a perfect example of that. So Candace, I'd like for you today to share with us about you. First of all, let's talk about you, who you are, where did you come from, what have you done, and what are you doing now? What are some of these experiences that you want to share with us?
Okay, so I'm Candace McKim, and I am an intuitive teacher. And so, but it has been a very, very long journey to get to that point. I've created the Intuitive Coaching Academy, and it's a certification training and online certification training. But it's been quite a journey to get to this point, to get to where I am right now. And so my background is I actually have a degree in social work. And then I was actually in meditation at the time, and I got an intuitive hit to become a yoga therapist. So I went and did my training. I became a yoga therapist, and then I became a chakra therapist. And then I spent about 10 years. I had a yoga studio for 17 years. And I spent about a decade or more marrying together the benefits of talk therapy with the benefits of mind, body, spirit, and bringing it together in a form of intuitive coaching. So I speak on intuition, but that was never, ever my plan, was to talk about intuition. But as I was teaching yoga, I would get like a spiritual hit as to what yoga postures meant on more of a spiritual level. Yes, the physical is important, and body alignment is important, and our breath is important. But I would kind of get a message as to what they meant on a different level, maybe a deeper level. And so I just started taking notes and started keeping track. And so then I carried on with my journey, and then I got an intuitive hit in 2012 to raise $20,000 for victims of sex trafficking in India. And so my first thought is, who am I? What am I doing? I have no experience in this. I went into the fear, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome. Who do I think I am? And all of that. And then I was sitting on a hockey bench. I'm a Canadian. I'm in Canada. And so I was sitting on a hockey bench and was talking to another mom. And I said, I just don't want to be on my deathbed, and wished I had at least tried. And so when I heard the words come out of my mouth, I knew I needed to step into it and do it. And so I did. I committed to it. So I raised the money, the $20,000 in 9 months. And so as a result, I was going to be going to India to see where the money was going. It was an organization. Collectively, we raised over $1 million. And so again, I got another intuitive hit to sell my yoga studio. And so I followed that guidance. Resistance came up, questioning, uncertainty. Even my husband said, "What are you doing? You're only going away for, 5 weeks. You love what you do. Why are you doing this?" But I followed that guidance. And then what happened is 2 days before I left to go to India, I handed over the keys for my studio. But what it did is when I came back, it opened up time and space for me to write my book and to create my deck of oracle cards. So all of that intuitive hits that I got about the yoga postures, I brought it into a deck of oracle cards. So oracle cards, I don't know if you're familiar with oracle cards.
But it was one of my notes. I was writing a note about that because I was going to ask you to go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I had been using oracle cards forever, Doreen Virtue, and so oracle cards are just these are different than tarot cards. These are more angel cards, and so then you just draw a card. Like, so this card would be, it's yellow and the words are power, courage, and visible. So when you're going through questions, you can draw cards. But so it was never my intention though. So then to do this type of work, I just was guided to do it. And so then, and I feel like entrepreneurs are like that. We kind of get, I don't know, life circumstances and get us into our careers, right? And into being an entrepreneur, and we're not really sure how that happened. But as I was writing the cards, I knew I had a book. And so then somebody said, what's the name of your book? And she said, describe your book in 4 words. And I said, intuition is a choice. And so then the book came out and then I started speaking about intuition. It was never my intention. But when I look back, I realized how sometimes I followed my intuition and sometimes I didn't, right? Which we do that, whether you're really connected to your intuition, that every once in a while you go, oh, I knew that was going to happen, or I knew I should have done this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. I mean, I have so many questions. The Oracle card was part of it. So thanks for explaining that. But so one thing that comes to mind, the first thing that comes to my mind as you're talking is that we don't, when somebody says, oh, what's your passion or what's your, what's your purpose? Our life is defined by opportunities that happen. So we take advantage of opportunities, but inside that opportunity, it may not be the thing that you love, that opportunity itself, but the way that you execute on that opportunity is in fact what your purpose is or your passion or how you do that. And so you obviously, your yoga studio and the several things that happened to you were your avenues for getting to. Weirdly enough, you look at it now and look back and say, this is how I got here because, I kept following this. So, gosh, I have so many questions, but so explain the intuition and the intuitive teacher a little bit in more detail for those people who don't understand at all what an intuitive teacher is.
So then I took my book and cards and started doing workshops about intuition. And I did a TEDx talk on intuition. And, I felt like I was just being led, that I never could have imagined that I was going to be doing this. Mm-hmm. Right? But that you're here for something more, right? So many of us know we're here for something more, but we don't really know what it looks like. And so then, as I said, I was bringing together the talk therapy with the body, mind, spirit, because there's no separation. When we get an intuitive hit, we have a physical reaction. We get the gut instinct, right? That's where that word came from, or that little saying came from, is the gut instinct, is because we do actually get a physical response when we have intuition. And so an intuitive coach is somebody who helps teach their clients to connect to their intuition, because we look outside of ourselves all the time, right? We look for answers, right? Like, let's phone a friend. Yeah. Right? And so an intuitive coach, so we have the answers within us. So the intuitive coach is going to help the client connect to their intuition. I believe our intuition is our soul speaking to us. So what does your soul really want you to do? And how does your soul want you to show up? How do you want to bring your purpose and be of service in the world? And so the intuitive coach helps the client connect to her intuition. And then she also connects to her intuition. And she might say, say if I was coaching you and I would say, what is your intuition telling you? I tend to close my eyes a lot when I'm coaching, and have them close their eyes as well, because it brings them out of their head. Like, so many of us, we're living in our heads, and how do we take that into our body, right? So going back to the story of selling my yoga studio is when I first thought I was just going to close it. So I called my landlord, and the funny thing is that I had never got the lease to her. She had never got me the contract. I had given her the 12 months of post-dated checks, and every time I had been renting the space for years, all right? And she said, oh, I need to get that lease to you. I need to get that contract to you. And I'm like, yeah, just slide under my door. Never had. And so then when I got the intuitive hit, so I called her up and I said, I'm going to let the studio go. And I told her what was happening. And she said, oh, well, I'll give you a free month's rent. And I went, oh, wait a minute. So then I got off the phone and thought, okay. So I said out loud, I said, I'm going to keep the studio. And my stomach said, no. And I said, wow. Studio. And my stomach said, yes. Right? So resistance doesn't always show up as a bad thing. That's number one lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
And then our physical body will tell us, right, that what we want. And so quite often, so as an intuitive coach, I want to take them out of their head, their thinking of the to-do, the pro and con list, and into their body. And what does their body really is telling them.
Wow. And I can see that happening. I can feel it. Like, as you're saying, I said this out loud, and how did it feel to me? That's really interesting, because wow, what a good way. And getting out of your head when you're talking about closing your eyes. I feel like a lot of times when I'm trying to think about something, if I close my eyes, I'm not focusing on everything that's around me, all the distractions, I'm focusing on exactly what I'm thinking about. So that's really powerful that you said that. Very interesting. So talk to us a little bit about, okay, so going from, you started realizing these things, you started getting notions about this. Talk to us a little bit about the $20,000 sex trafficking fundraising that you did for India. I mean, that is just an amazing thing. And I want to know a little bit more, because that doesn't just come to you somewhere, or that has to be something in your life that drove you to that. And then how did you raise $1 million, and how did that come to
Oh,
fruition?
I didn't raise $1 million. I raised the 20,000. But collectively, I was part of an organization, a yoga-based organization, and collectively we raised $1 million.
Nice.
So great question. So it goes back again. I was a yoga therapist, and I had a yoga studio. And so as I was teaching, I knew I wanted to do more with the yoga, the spiritual part of yoga, right? I love the physical part as well, right? Don't get me wrong. But I knew I wanted to start to teach workshops. And so I went and did a training. And so it was with the same organization. So I was a senior leader with this organization. And while I was in the training, I got really clear that I was here to work with women who had been violated. And I just knew that. Like, it was this really clear, this is who I'm here. And again, I have a background in social work. I have a degree in social work. So I knew that I was here. And so it wasn't an uncomfortable area for me to work in. So I knew very clearly, like, this is where I need to go. This is where I need to go. And so I came home, and so that was in June, and it showed up in my clientele. Like, bam, it was like the next day, all of my clients were showing up. Every client had been molested, raped, abused, abortion, like every single client. Right. And so that was from June until September. And I remember sitting on the deck with my husband, and we're having a coffee or tea or whatever, and we're talking, and I told him what happened, is that I got really clear that this is what my purpose is, and this is what is showing up now. And he just said to me, is that what you want to do? And I sat there and I took a breath, just like I just did. And I said, no, it's not. And so, because again, remember, I have this social work background, and I got burnt out, right? Yeah. I worked in a government job, and I got so burnt out in that government job. And I knew that it wasn't what the energy I wanted to bring in my household. I have 3 children, and at the time they were young, and I just knew that I didn't want to bring that energy into my house. And so it stopped. So fast forward 1.5 years later, the same organization, and they did this global Save a Challenge every year, and I'd never been interested in it at all. I'm not a fundraiser, but then when I saw the email come up, I knew I needed to do it. I knew instantly. It was like this instant knowing, I need to do this.
Wow, that's amazing. And you alone, I mean, you say, oh, I just raised $20,000. That's a lot of money. That is incredible, especially for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience in fundraising and these kinds of activities. That's a lot of money. So that's really impressive. So talk to us about when you went to India, about that experience, because obviously all of these things coming to you as you're developing your person and where you are now, they become part of you. So talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. And, again, they prepared us to go to a country and to see these organizations. So we went into red light districts. We went into the organizations. And I went there expecting to see, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, because I worked in Canada in the government, in the social services area. And so I expected like a group home with, maybe 10, 15, 20 girls that had been rescued around those ages. And what I saw there, was just something totally different, right? It was like a gate, and you drive in, and there's hundreds of kids there. There's hundreds of little girls there from 8 years old to 18. And some of them were mothers as well already. And so it was a lot. And so I expected to see that kind of oppression, right? I was prepared to see the girls being oppressed, but what I saw was an entire population of women being to somewhat oppressed. And so what happened is then when I came home and I started writing my book, right, I went through quite a healing process. I went between anger and hopelessness. And I like my rose-colored glasses, right? Like I don't often go there into that hopelessness. And so I would allow myself kind of half an hour a day to go into the anger and then go into the hopelessness and cry and then to move forward. And then I put that energy, after a couple months, then I put that energy into my book and my cards. Because what happened is then when I came home, I saw the oppression of the women here. I saw it in my household, in my own family, in my friends, because we got complacent, right? Like, so here's the masculine energy, right? And here's the feminine, and we were here, right? And so we thought we were doing pretty good, and we were, but it was like, oh, now it's like, okay, this isn't okay either, right? And let's take a look at that. And that's what's happening in the world, right? Like in this last year, it's like blowing up, right? That whole.
What's amazing is that you were able to take an experience, an extremely difficult experience. I mean, it did some amazing work, obviously, by raising $20,000 and helping this organization. But going through this experience, because you took charge and going through this experience, opened your eyes to maybe not all stuff that you wanted to see, but obviously stuff you needed to see. And those things have propelled you to the next part of who you are. So talk to us about writing a book, because a lot of people think, oh gosh, that's a great idea, I'm going to go ahead and write a book. But most people never start it because of the imposter syndrome thing. So talk to us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, writing a book is hard.
Well, there you go.
And you see people, they have written so many books, right? And that's like, so I have actually started a second book. It's called Women and Worth, Wealth and Wellness. And so that's what I learned from that India experience, is that we need to value ourselves as women and to move into that feminine energy, and we've been gaslighted to do our businesses, to run our businesses as entrepreneurs in the masculine energy of pushing ourselves towards overwhelm and burnout. And it's like, I say no to that. Like, let's do this in this feminine, gentle energy. And what I mean by that is giving ourselves permission to not get everything done on our to-do list, but not to beat ourselves up when we don't get it all done on our to-do list. To do it, go with inspired action, to make sure wellness is a part of our everyday practices. I'm a non-negotiable, like I meditate every single day. It's a non-negotiable part of my life, right? And that's an interesting story too, is I was taught to meditate when I was 13 because my parents were entrepreneurs. They were self-employed parents of 3 teenagers. They owned laundromats and dry cleaning plants. And my mom was burning out, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor prescribed her Valium. And my mom was like, I can't do this. I can't run this business and look after these kids, because she had 3 teenagers, and be on this medication. And so they took our entire family to learn to meditate. I was 13 years old, and it became an everyday practice. So it helps me connect to spirit. It helps me release stress. It helps me sleep. It helps with weight, all of that. But let's come back to the book. So the book was a long process. But my book is similar. So the cards are 54 cards in the deck, and my daughter actually did the artwork for them. She's
nice.
an artist. Yeah. So she did the artwork for them. And then so I feel like maybe it was a little easier for me to do the book, because so there's 54 cards in the deck, because 54 is half of 108, which is a sacred number. And so then the book starts with the image, and then the divinatory part of what the card means, and then how to bring it into our everyday life.
Wow.
So that book, and I feel like books, they just write themselves. And that's why my next book isn't done. I started it at least 2 years ago. And I keep thinking, it's going to come out in the summer of 2021. Then it got locked up on my computer, which also happens. People writing books, the energy is so high that their computers crash and their books get locked up and that kind of stuff. Every author I know, that's happened to.
Yikes.
So yeah.
Well, here's what I love about this is, okay, so, people say, oh gosh, I could never write a book. Oh, it's a great idea. You have put together a book and a resource, the cards, and have tied those pieces together for people to understand exactly the process and also the steps and the meanings of things. What's the name of that for your first book again?
Yogini's Guide, Intuition is a Choice.
That's right. Intuition is a Choice. And can someone get that on Amazon?
They can. I prefer if they go through CandaceMcKim.com.
Very good. And we're going to post all that information in our comments to make sure that we can get that way. So we can get to all of your information. But I love that. So you wrote a book, and I love your quote about if you get to your deathbed and then you realize, I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had just tried, and I do a lot of quotes that try to keep me grounded during the week. And actually the one I did yesterday or the day before was exactly that, because that has been something I've heard so much recently, because it's true. We look back and say, gosh, when I was 20, I should have tried this. And I wish I had done this. And this was in my mind, and all because I got chickened out because I had all these other outside influences saying I couldn't do it, including my own head, saying I couldn't do certain things. So I love that you said that, because that's so profound. It's absolutely true. I mean, how many people do we see who look back and say exactly that? It just seems like a common thread right now. Talk to us about your TEDx experience, because that's something that I think is so powerful too, that people don't really understand. How do you get invited to do that? What is that experience like, and what did you do? What did you talk about?
Well, I'm laughing because it was quite silly, actually. Not silly. It was quite, it just still makes me laugh, right? Like, yes, I'm an intuitive teacher, but when that kind of stuff happens, it still blows my mind. So my book was just coming out. And so it was the final read through. And so my sister was in one chair and I was in the other chair, and I was reading it out loud, and she had the hard copy and I had my computer. And so as I was reading it out loud, she stopped and she said, "Oh, you should do a TED talk on this." And I looked at her and I went, "Yes, I should." Yes, I should do a TED talk on this. And started laughing, right? So I just pulled up a sheet off my paper and said, TED Talk, and put a list, or put the name, whatever chapter it was that she was talking about. And then a little while later, she goes, "You should do a TED Talk on this." And I said, "Yes, I should," and added it. 5 months later, I got asked to do a TED Talk.
Wow, that's incredible.
Seriously.
And that was just things happening in your life that you just don't see coming.
It's just setting intentions, right? Putting it out there and opening up to the possibilities, and not closing ourselves off by thinking this is how it has to be, just opening up to all of that. And so, so then I got invited to do a TED Talk, and it scared me so badly. I never told anybody other than my sister, my husband, and my children, right? I never told anybody for months, 2 months. And in fact, I never did tell anybody. Somebody else posted on social media that I was doing a TED Talk. I didn't even tell people because I was so scared of doing it.
Right.
And then I was on my book tour, and I met this woman in Montreal, and I was talking to her. And so she said, and I was on my book tour and doing workshops and stuff. And she said, "So what are you doing after this?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be doing a TED Talk." And I kind of would whisper it, right? And she said,
"No one will hear me."
Like, I don't want anybody to know I'm doing this. And she said, "Oh, a TED Talk? Well, what are you and your team doing to get you ready for your TED Talk?" And I said, again, I laughed and said, "Team? There's no team. It's just me. It's just me." And so she said, "This is what I do at Cornell University, is help people prepare for TED Talks."
Wow.
She said, "I'm going to help you." And because she had taken she'd gotten my information about my workshop and my book and all of that, right? And she said, "I'm going to help you." And so we had a call, and she helped me figure out how to do a TED Talk. And so again, like I just believe that when we're in this flow of life and following our intuitive guidance, amazing opportunities come to us. And we know that feeling. We know that when we're like, "Oh my God, this is happening, and that's so exciting," and then this happens, but then we alternately, we know when we're feeling like we're grasping and we're trying too hard. Right? We know that feeling doesn't feel very good either. And so how do we bring ourselves back into that flow and into that movement?
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing how it felt in your gut, because I think some people not working in that way, like you're discussing about, working with someone who has that ability to be able to pull that stuff out, maybe don't know what that feels like, or don't know how to relate to that. And I think that was a very vivid picture of what that actually looks like. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's really, it's really powerful. We all have that in us. We just don't always know how to connect to it. So as we talk about your entrepreneurial journey, there's so many moving parts here, but what I love is that you've worked through those parts and been able to see when something else called you and it made you feel good, your gut felt good, you're in, that intuitive speak, and just like this TED Talk, I mean, how you felt about it. So all of the conversation about limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome, all of those pieces of things that happen to entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, as you and I talked offline, those are real pieces. And you're talking about, how you get around that, because you have, by listening to yourself, and how the best way is to do it. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's really cool. So Candace, as you've gone through all of these different experiences in your life over all of these years, tell us what's your gravitational pull? What's your piece that sort of grounds you back into get your head back on straight? This is what we need to be doing. This is what I need to be thinking about. Share with us that, because I think it's really important for people to see that everybody in the entrepreneurial space goes through these, ravines, holes, hits a concrete barrier, whatever that is, the mud puddle that splashes all over your head when you're dressed perfectly and you're ready to go for an interview, whatever that is. What is that thing that gets you back onto center?
It's mindset. 70% of business is mindset, right? Like you can even see, like, as I was telling you the story, the self-doubt that comes up, doing the Save It Challenge, or like the raising the money, writing the book, doing a TED Talk, all of those things were really scary for me. Really, really scary. But it's mindset. It's like getting the support, getting yourself grounded. Like you said, meditation has been huge. Having a coach has been huge. I've always had a coach to move you through that fear.
Yeah.
Because our soul is going to push us out of our comfort zone, right? And our soul wants us to really show up and shine in the world. And so it's about connecting. It's clearing out the mindset. So we're always in a powerful state of being, or we're in a suffering state of being. And so it's only one or the other. So am I in a power state of being, or am I suffering right now? And how do I shift back into that powerful state?
Nice, nice. And I love the fact that you brought up a coach, because the word coach can mean so many different things. I mean, from sports to mindset to health to all different types of things. But, it's a simultaneous kind of conversation as having a mentor or somebody that has either been through it before or has worked with someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. And people say all the time, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and I don't have the resources to do that. But it's absolutely no question you need to do this, because finding someone who's done what you want to do and walking you through it is the only way to get through whatever that hole is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, it's non-negotiable. Like that would be like one of my top priorities. That's where I'm going to put some money into, is having a coach. Yeah.
I love it. So as we're winding up, do me a favor and tell us, do you have something going on, something coming up that we all need to know about, something you want to share with everybody, besides all of this magical stuff that we're going to certainly add into our chat so that people can find you and, grab your book and your cards. But do you have anything else going on that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, so in January, I'm starting the Ignite business training for the soulpreneur. And it is an online 6-month training, and it's weekly sessions that we're going to be getting together. And I'm going to be bringing together a group of soulpreneurs, women who are ready to really make the income and make the impact that they know they're here to do. And I just really believe it's time. Like, it is absolutely time. We're moving into a new era. And it's time for women to get going into stepping into their vision. And so it starts January 19th. You can start with booking a complimentary clarity call with me and to see if it's a right fit for you. But it's going to be combining business strategies, next steps, exactly figuring out who your ideal client is, changing the mindset, moving forward, combined with a mastermind, like connecting, collaboration, and women supporting women.
Nice. I love it. And so how can somebody sign up for that? Is that on your website?
On my website, CandaceMckim.com, Candace McKim. Also, I have the Intuitive Coaching Academy certification training. It's for women who want to maybe they've done other trainings before and they want to bring it all together under one umbrella. And again, the difference between it is there's a business training that goes with it. So there's the information about how to become an intuitive coach, but then there's also the business training to get you started right away. And then I also do one-on-one coaching for entrepreneurs. And then I also have free every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time on my Facebook Live. I do a Facebook Live, and I do intuitive card readings. They're just fun.
Excellent. So your Facebook is Candace McKim?
Yes, it is.
All right, excellent. So there lots of different ways to find you, and connecting with you on your Facebook page sounds like a great way to get your feet wet, to try to understand a little bit more about what you offer and the experience of working with you, what that would be like. So that sounds great. I've added in the comments your website and also a lot of the different opportunities that you shared, so everybody hopefully can find you. Go to your website, grab your book, which sounds really amazing. I mean, I think it would be great, even if you don't understand the cards and the concept. It sounds like your book explains a lot of that, but also explains how to dive into your own self. And it sounds really amazing. So that is there. Signing up for her academy is there. That starts in January. That's really going to be really cool too. I think we've shared all of the information in different ways to get you. Candace, this has been so exciting. So much information. You have I just love your energy and how you have explained in such a simple term to those of us who don't understand the intuitive side at all, really how to connect with that. I really appreciate that, and your energy and your power and your strength and all of your entrepreneurial journey, sharing that with us. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. This has been really fun. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you obviously have seen this live. We're going to repost this on LinkedIn in just a few minutes. We're going to put it on LinkedIn, the replay on there. Candace will have the link to put on all of her social channels. It will be back on my social channels as a link again. It'll also be on my website, conniefuchsa.com, where I work with entrepreneurs in the real estate space to help them define their knowledge and grow and share their expertise. So if you want to find out more about that, conniefuchsa.com. Go to Candace's site, download her information, sign up for her academy, especially if you're a lady that is really trying to get your business up off the ground. This sounds like the place to be. So Candace, thanks again so much for your time. All of you have a very Merry Christmas. Hope your Happy New Year is amazing. And remember that every day is a new day and a new blessing. So start today with it being your turnaround and your beginning to the next best life. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Bye.
Bye.